Welcome everybody to the last session of today. Thank you for being here. Our guest is already in the studio. We'll read her profile in a moment and then we'll bring her in. Our network is having little hitches. We'll get to do something fast to a minute, please. Sorry, I don't know if I was muted. So I don't think anybody heard what I read about Marybeth. I said Marybeth is going to share with us this evening on how to help our children in their search for purpose. And before we bring her in, we will read a bit about Marybeth. Marybeth is an educator, an advocate of premium parenting, and the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy. Marybeth is she's passionate about nurturance of wholesome children, and she believes that every child has a purpose that is predestined, and it is the role of parents to guide them towards finding their purpose. Her books, Bedtime Story for Champions, Mentor Parents, 360 Parenting Journal, and 360 Parenting Planner is available everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the building, Marybeth Chima.
Good evening, Vivian.
Thank you very
How are
much,
you?
sis, for being here. I am
Thank you
grateful
so
to have
much.
you here. The privilege I don't take for granted. Sorry, our network was having hitches, so
Oh, wow.
we've taken a bit of your time. Welcome,
No
ma'am.
problem.
We're leaving the stage for you.
Okay, I don't know if you can see me, if you can hear me. I think Vivian is still having network issues. Um, so I don't know if this is me or this
Can
is
you
her.
hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear
Can you
you.
hear
I don't know.
me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Okay. We are leaving you to do your thing from here. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
No problems. All right. So I think she still has network issues. So thank you very much for having me, Vivian. Thank you very much for having me here today. I am excited. I'm always excited to be on your screen if it's about parenting and it's about children. Okay. So my name is Marybeth. She has said that already, and I like to add to that name by calling myself the mentor mom. Okay. So I call myself the mentor mom, not necessarily as a name of my, I mean, as a brand name, but because being a mentor mom is part of my essence. Okay. So I pride myself by saying that being able to mentor my children and children around me is a life goal for me. All right. So it is my hope and dream that I'm able to create connections, okay, and then build connections with parents who can begin to see that the nurturance of children who are wholesome, children who understand who they are, children who know that they were created for a purpose that is bigger than them, and then they know that they have everything within them to reach out and grab that purpose is a big thing for me. So it is my hope and dream that more parents, okay, will come on this stage, or more parents will understand this singular assignment in their lives and in the lives of their children, and they will do everything to stop the circle of abuse, the circle of stress, the circle of dragging children and giving them a life that they don't deserve. And then we can calm down and begin to understand the children based on their uniqueness, and so help them to be everything that God has created them to be. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about how we can support, or we can support our children to in the search for their purpose. This incidentally happens to be the subtitle of my book, The Mentor Parents. Okay, it's Mentor Parents, support your child to find, support your child in their search for purpose. All right, so let's move. All right, so today I'm going to start by saying to you that everything has got a purpose. Walk into your kitchen and look at your microwave. It is sitting down on that slab because it has a purpose in there. If it doesn't have a purpose and you cannot fix it to live for the purpose that you bought it in the first place, then you probably will be dumping it in the dog's bin or something like that. All right, so your microwave has a purpose to heat up your meals, isn't it? Same thing with your telephone. Your telephone is there so that you can connect with the people in your life and make and sustain those connections. So in the same way as human beings, we have purposes for which we were created. So that child, okay, your Tayo, your Mary, your Kansi, okay, and your Tunde, they all have a purpose for which they were created. All right, so the second thing I want you to understand today is that apart from having a purpose for which you were created, nothing was created to be in isolation, and nothing was created for just itself. All right, so the plant that is out there, the tree that is out there, gives off oxygen. Gives off oxygen, all right, so that oxygen that can be used by us as animals, right? Okay, in the same way, the plants out there, the plants that probably produces nectar, right? Okay, it doesn't depend. I mean, the nectar is fed on by the insects. So in that same vein, as human beings, we were not created in isolation or just for ourselves. We were created to serve others. We were created to change the world. We were created to impact and to make a difference. So these are two things I would like you. Okay, I can hear you loud and clear. Good. All right, so these are two things I would like you to say to your children and to continue saying to your children. That number one, they are created for a purpose. God created them specially for a purpose. And number two, as part of that purpose, they're supposed to serve others. As part of that purpose, they're supposed to make a difference. So they are not created in isolation just to live a purpose that is beneficial to them. All right. So I was listening to Sadhguru, that's his name, right? I was listening to Sadhguru, the Indian, the renowned Indian yogi, and in that session, or in that where I was listening to him, he said something like, "Purpose is living an exuberant life." Okay, purpose is living an exuberant life. All right, so let's look at the word exuberant. What does it mean to be exuberant? It means to be joyful, to be excited, to be fulfilled. All right, to be in a place where your energy is up and your energy is right. Okay, so he says that is purpose on its own. All right, when you are in that place as a person, when you are living this life that is exuberant, you are excited, you are fulfilled, you are living, and the things that you're doing are exciting you, and they're making you fulfilled, and they're making you joyful and all of that. So when that is your life, when that is you, then it is that you are living your purpose. He went on to say that as an adult, let's say you're an adult that is about 35, 40, if you have to stop and ask yourself the question, what is my purpose in life? It's an indication that you're probably in a place of pain, a place of confusion, a place of pain, a place of dissatisfaction. Okay, so when it got to that part, I stopped and I'm like, really, I thought at some point we're all supposed to stop and ask ourselves the question, what is my purpose in life? Because according to Rick Warren, the author of The Purpose-Driven Life, he says that what is my purpose in life is one of the oldest questions in human existence. Okay, and at some point, okay, knowingly or unknowingly, we have to ask ourselves that question as human beings. So I was trying to marry what Rick Warren's view and Sadhguru's view. Okay, so I had to ponder more on it, and I had to look in depth into it, and it started making sense. Okay, so what Sadhguru was saying, okay, from my understanding is, if after living your life in exuberance, let's say right from when, I mean, you grew up, and then right from when you had knowledge of yourself as a human being, you're satisfied by the things that you do. You are happy with the things that you do. You get excitement from the things that you do. You have the right energy from the things that you do. If that is how you have lived your life from the time that you came to, I mean, to know yourself. I mean, you know, when children are young, okay, there's a point that you get to, and then you begin to connect with yourself, and you understand the things that are happening around you. So what he's saying is, if from the time that you are right at this stage in your life, you are living this exuberant life, then at 40 or at 35, you won't wake up and you will ask yourself, what is my purpose in life? Because at that point, you will be living your purpose. At that point, whatever you do, you're getting satisfaction from whatever you do. You are impacting with whatever you do. You're making a difference. You can see that you're blessing people and blessing yourself, and you're happy and you're excited and you are fulfilled in what you are doing. And that made a lot of sense. And I want to believe today that this is the reason why I am on your screen, okay? And this is the purpose for this session, that we're able to bring up children who, by the time they begin to know themselves, they're already living lives that they feel fulfilled in. They're already living life that they are happy about. They're already doing the things that excite them. They are already living, and I mean, they're already in the place of happiness and the place of exuberance. That is what this is about. So what am I saying? I'm saying in essence that purpose, or the essence of purpose, is life itself. Life itself is the essence for life, the why behind life. Okay, the why behind life, the essence for life itself is purpose. So we were created for purpose, okay? And so that purpose, okay, that purpose has nothing to do with you as a parent. That purpose has been predestined even before the child was born. Scripture tells us, okay, so I'll be using the scripture. I'm a Christian, so I'll use the scripture from time to time. Okay, so you can use this as a reference. Okay, so I'm using that as my reference today. Okay, and other references, okay, that'll come up. All right, so the scripture says that before we were formed, I mean, before we were conceived in the wombs of our parents, we were conceived in the heart of God. Okay, so our purpose has been predestined. Your child's purpose was destined before that child was created. Okay, so what you are to do as a parent is to guide, is to lead, is to support, and is to create the path for the child that will lead the child towards that purpose. The moment we can understand this assignment, okay, the moment we can understand our role in the purpose of our children's life, then it begins to make more sense, and we begin to understand why there is work to be done. Okay, so I like the way that who was that now at the TIP conference? Okay, I like the way that I think he was Eden Iwoka. Okay, so I like the way that Eden put it. No, it wasn't. No, it was Pastor Wisdom Isiri. Okay, Isiri, I think. I hope I'm calling the name well. All right, so Pastor Wisdom said in that conference that your role as a parent is to raise the child. Is to raise the child, and when you raise something, the thing goes up. So your role is to raise a child so that the child can go up. So when you are raising your child and your child is going up, okay, not just the child is growing up, then you can say that, okay, you are fulfilling your purpose in the life of that child. And in raising the child, she also said, you need to understand the child, and you need to understand that the child has a unique bend. Okay, so you know the way you have an arrow, okay, the way the arrow is bent, when you shoot from that arrow, where the arrow will land, right? Where your arrow will land from that bow is going to be dependent on how that bow is bent. So basically, in raising your child, in supporting your child, you cannot do it without understanding understanding who the child is. As soon as you understand who the child is and you understand what your role is in the life of that child, then we can say that you can lead this person to their purpose. Okay, let's do an exercise. Okay, that I think that's why I remembered Eden. Okay, let's do an exercise that she mentioned in that conference also. She said you should take that name, or take that the word purpose and replace it with another word. All of this is so that we can get clarity, or we can get perspective of what it is that our assignment is. Because a lot of times when we keep saying, oh, I'm his parent, somewhere an entitlement mentality comes in. And that is the reason why some of us as parents think that because we birthed these children, because we gave birth to them, we have a right to their lives. In fact, I've seen arguments, okay, on social media why people have argued that my child is my child and I can do with him as I want, or something like that. Basically, my child, I can't remember one of those conversations, but basically what people are saying is, I own the child. He's my child. I own the child. And basically I can do, no, you do not own the child. So let's do that exercise, okay? Let's replace parents with other synonyms, right, that can fit into that position so that we can understand our assignment. So one of the synonyms I want you to use is steward. Okay, so steward, when you're able to see yourself as a steward in the life of your child, then you know that as a steward, it means that something has been placed, something that is of value has been placed in your hands, right? And someday or at some point, okay, you will need to go back and make reports to your supervisor, isn't it? Okay. Another word is enabler. I like to use the word enabler a lot of times. So when you look at yourself as an enabler in the life of your child, then you realize that your role is to make things, is to guide, is to provide what is needed for the child to succeed. Okay, so your child needs to go for, what example am I going to use right now? So your child needs to write an exam, okay? Your child needs to write an exam and all of that. So what happens? You would go and you will ready to start the child for the exam, isn't it? And then you will prepare the material. You will at least buy the material, and then the child can take it from there. So you are the one that's going to enable the child, right? So you're the one that's going to enable the child, right, to see that task through. So you are an enabler. Another word is a custodian. Okay, so you have been given the role of a custodian in the life of your child. So basically, what are you doing? This one is not very enough. So as a custodian, what are you doing? You just have custody of that person. So meaning you cannot do with that person as you like. You are just you're just holding forth. Okay, you're just holding forth in the life of that person. You're holding forth for the moment. Okay, you will still have to report to someone concerning that person. So the moment you can see yourself, okay, the moment you can understand your role in the life of the child and in your part in the purpose of the child, then you will understand that being a parent is a partnership. Okay, a partnership with who at this point? We said from the beginning, who created the child in the first place, who predestined the child's purpose, who created a purpose for the child even before the child was born. To the creator, isn't it? So you will begin to see yourself as someone who is in partnership with the creator. So if you see yourself like this, then you know that one day, you would have to report. So if you can see yourself this way, then you don't take it personal when your child is not exactly conforming to the template that you have created. You will know that it is not about you, okay? What you're supposed, your role is actually to guide. You are not supposed to, or it is not your place, right, to determine. It is in your place to guide the child towards finding that purpose. Okay, and that is what we are going to be looking at, okay, at this point. So as I said, I'm going to be sharing from my book. Most of what I'm sharing today is from my book, Mentor Parents, okay? It's from my book, Mentor Parents. And at this point, we're going to be looking at what we can do. Sorry, can I just turn on the AC? Just 1 second, please. All right, so sorry about that. So at this point, we're going to be looking at what we can do, okay? What we can do as parents, to support our children to find their purpose. Okay, now that we understand our role, now that you understand that the child's purpose is bigger than you, and that purpose has been predestined by the Creator. Okay? Purpose has been predestined by God. Okay? You understand that your role is just to guide, to lead, and to create a pathway for the child to navigate the world around, and then in the search for their purpose, or that they work towards that purpose for which they are created. We already know that. Okay? We've already established that. Another thing that we have established is the fact that your child's purpose, your child's purpose is such that the child is supposed to use that purpose to serve others. Right? We've established that the child will use that purpose to serve others. Okay? And in doing that, the child will find fulfillment. The child will find joy. The child will find peace. Right? And then the child will live an exuberant life. Right? All right. So we know all of these things. So now what we want to look at is then how do you go about helping the child to find or to live that purpose? Okay? All right. So Vivian, let me know when I have like 5-10 minutes. All right. So that I don't go on and on and on. All right then. So what can we do? How can we help our children, right, reach that purpose? What can we do? What's our path? We now know our role, that we're not going to lord it over them. We're not going to pick a purpose for them. Okay, we're not going to push them towards their purpose. We're not going to choose their purpose for them, right? We're just going to guide them, because the purpose is already done, sitting and waiting for us to reach it. Okay, waiting for us to find it, waiting for us to guide the children as they search for it. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to tell you today that you can do as a parent is you need to get knowledge. Oh my goodness, you need to get knowledge, parents. You cannot parent without knowledge. I beg to say, I would say this from the top of a mountain. You cannot parent in this generation. You cannot parent in the 21st century without knowledge, because it is only when you are knowledgeable that you know who you are parenting. Remember the talk when I talked about the bow and then the curve of that child? When I talked about the child's uniqueness, you cannot parent your 5 children the same way. You cannot. If you're going to help them find their purpose, they can't possibly all have the same purpose, isn't it? They can't possibly have the same purposes anyway. So if they're not going to have the same, if they don't have the same purpose, how then do we want to put them on the same path and allow them go through the same thing, and we say we are leading them towards purpose? That's not possible. Okay, so hey, for you as a parent to be able to support your child effectively, right, for you to be able to support your child effectively, then you are going to have knowledge. Okay, another scripture in Proverbs chapter 20 verse 5 actually says that it says that the purpose of a man's heart, the purpose of a man's heart is like deep waters. Okay, only a person with insights can draw it out. So we can say the same thing for the purpose of our children. So paraphrase, the purpose of your child's life is like deep waters. Only a person with insight can reach and draw it out. So who is the person with insight? The person with insight is the parent who is knowledgeable, the parent who is intentional, the parent who is purposeful, the parent who understands his mission. And so you cannot support your child if you do not understand your mission. You cannot support the child if you do not understand and you do not have knowledge of who you are parenting. You cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot be effective when you don't understand what it is that you are doing. You cannot go to the hospital and a doctor will treat you when the doctor does not understand what is wrong with you. It's going to be drug abuse. If it's just going to prescribe, we've had cases where they say, oh, the diagnosis was wrong and all of that. What happened? It's always a bad, it's always one bad thing or the other that happens. So yes, okay, it is the same thing. You cannot diagnose someone that you do not know. You cannot parent a child that you do not understand. understand. Okay, so in parenting, you must have knowledge before you can parent effectively. So what is the knowledge that you're having in parenting? First of all, you need to understand who that child is. What temperament does this child have? By the time your child is born, the child already has their unique temperament. So that's the reason you have your little children. You have the one that you just breastfeed and you leave and she just goes to sleep. You have the one that you breastfeed and you leave and then he will cry. You check the diaper is okay. He has just finished eating. Everything is okay. But you drop the child and the child is crying. The child just wants to be cuddled. The child just wants to be held. So you leave the child and you hold the child and the child is fine. So our children have different temperaments. So you have to be watching. You have to be looking at them and you have to pay attention to their temperaments so that you know how to support them effectively. Okay? I'm not going to go into temperaments right now because we don't even have time. But I'm sure by now you know that your child could be, I mean, there are all kinds of temperaments. I mean, for children, sometimes the expert just simply wants to use the one child is easy, the other child is shy, not so easy, and then there's the one that I don't like to call, but they would say the difficult child. So your child can fall into any of these ones, okay? And then further, you can look at them in terms of, you know, the 4 temperaments. Your child could be sanguine, can be melancholic, can be choleric, okay, or can be a phlegmatic like yours truly. Okay, so you need to, I mean, and this temperament, sometimes they don't, most times they're not in isolation. The child just have a dominant, I mean, has a primary temperament and then other temperaments that could be. But how do you know about temperament if you're not going to get knowledge or you don't know about this temperament? These are the knowledge that we're talking about. Sitting down right here and listening to me right now, being in this conference is you trying to get knowledge. So well done, okay? Reading books, okay? Connecting and reading books in connection with parenting. Yes, you read novels, you read science fiction, you read all of this. So now please try and read parenting books too. If this is a goal, then you need to do something extra. Okay, if parenting is a goal, then you need to do something extra. Read books, okay? Read books, read mentor parents, okay? And then you will know all about how you can parent your child and how you can support your child, okay? That's what it's all about. So read books and all of that and gain knowledge, okay? Then apart from that, you need to know your child's love language, okay? One child is going to be different. There's another child, there's one child that you can just affirm. You can just affirm them and tell them how amazing you think they are and all of that. You can just, I mean, they do something and you just praise their action or you praise their effort and the child is good. There's another child that wants you to be with them. Okay, there's another child that just wants you to be with them. It doesn't matter, don't give them anything, but just spend time with them. Okay, that's what I mean. That's what the child sees as as love. Okay, there's another child, you know, there's another child that wants gifts. They want you to buy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be big gift. Just give them small, a flower here, a chocolate here, and all of that, and they are fine. So you need to know which of these, what love language your child has, so that you can speak in their love language. Because if you're not speaking in their love language, then you probably may not be reaching the child as much as you can reach that child. But ultimately, there's a general love language, and that is time. Everybody wants time. So in parenting, okay, if you're going to parent effectively, you're going to parent your child effectively, and you need to support your child, then you need to create time to be with that child, because time is the general language of love. Okay, so you have to do that, and and time doesn't necessarily mean 1-2 hours every day. Okay, even if it's 5 minutes you have with children every day, even if it's via a video call or you being at home, even if it's 5 minutes, let those 5 minutes count while you are with your children, because it is in that 5 minutes that you are going to, come to that 5 minutes or 10 minutes with content that you want to give when you come. So in that 5 or 10 minutes that you are with your children, make it count. So use that time to affirm your children. Let your children know who they are. Okay, use affirmation. I love affirmation. I affirm my children from day one, from the day they are born. In fact, we have this affirmation, we have this affirmation that we use even in the bathroom when the children are having their bath. Okay, I'm the apple of God's eyes. I'm the top. I'm not the least. I'm above and not beneath. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. My hands are blessed. Everything that I touch is blessed. My legs are blessed. Everywhere that I step is blessed. So just, create affirmation and let the children affirm themselves, okay? So in that 5-10 minutes that you have with your children, make it count, okay? Spend that time in letting your children know who they are, who God says they are, what abilities they are, they have, okay? And then even their weaknesses, let them empower them and let them know that there is nothing that is impossible. So even if it's 5 minutes with your children, please make it count, okay? The other thing you want to know is you want to understand how the child brain works, okay? Because if you don't understand how the child's brain works and you don't understand why children do the things they do, then you may not be able to support a phase or the different phases in the lives of the children. So very important, okay, that you understand this, okay? So now let's just do a bit, let's go in there a little bit, okay? So from the moment your child is born with all the neural cells that they need, all the neural cells that they need for the rest of their life. Okay, so these neural cells may be small and unconnected at the time, but they exist. Now, guess what? The only way these neural cells are going to be connected, okay, is through experiences. Okay, so the only way they're going to be created is through experiences. What experiences are you giving your children? Remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to lay down the traits, okay, the traits of what you can do, what you can put in the life of your children to enable them or to help their search for their purpose be easy. Okay, that's what we're talking about. How you can support that search or what you can provide to make that path towards their purpose be easy. So what we're talking about are all the things you need to do, because sometimes we think that purpose is something that will just fall on you. Okay, purpose is something, oh, when he gets to 30, he will just know his purpose. No, it is a journey, okay? And it's not at 30. Purpose is supposed to be lived, okay? Or all that needs to be in place. The traits, okay, for purpose are supposed to be, they're supposed to be taught. They're supposed to be provided for the child, okay? The child is supposed to be empowered with the things that will help the child find their purpose, okay? Basically. So it starts right from the cradle. If you've been following me, it starts right from the cradle. Okay, so at this point, the neurons are not connected. The neural cells are not connected, but they exist. The connection is going to be made, or the connection is going to be helped by you, the parent, or their primary caregiver. So what experiences are you creating for your children, especially your young children? What experiences have you created, or what experiences are you creating for them at this time? The brain is a very relational organ. It is going to make its connection based on based on how we the experiences, the sensory experiences that we give the brain. Okay, the brain is a very relational organ. Please put that down. It's a very relational organ, and the only way the neural cells in our brain or the brain of that child is going to make connection is by the experiences that you create. So now let's take, for instance, that you are creating healthy emotional experiences. Okay, when you create healthy emotional experiences, okay, I hope we understand what healthy emotional experiences are. For instance, when your child is little and the child cries, okay, you come there, you look at Jabe, leave me, I'm tired, Jare, how can I cry child is that? Oh, wow. So what you're doing at that point is you're creating experiences for the child, knowingly or unknowingly. You think the child is just 3 months, it's just 4 months, he doesn't understand. No, you are creating experiences for the child. You're telling the child how to react when someone makes you uncomfortable. So the child is already, these connections, it goes right there to the brain, okay, and it gets stored in the amygdala of the child's brain. Okay, so it's stored in there. So let's say you are creating healthy emotional experiences. So what that happens is it makes the cells to begin to connect, the neurons begin to connect with cells, and will create a pathway that will be strengthened. Okay, so if you continue to create this healthy experiences, this pathway will become strengthened over time. Okay, this pathway will become strengthened over time. And when this happens, guess what? The brain will release the love hormone. Okay, oxytocin is the love hormone. So every time you create this love or this what do you call it, this healthy experiences, okay, this good emotional experiences, what happens is what neural connections are made, and those paths are being strengthened. And when they are being strengthened, the love hormone is being released. Okay, oxytocin is released, and oxytocin is the hormone that feeds the prefrontal cortex, the part of your child's brain that is responsible for emotional relationship, emotional connection, social connection, reasoning, planning, and all of that cognitive ability. So your child's ability to even learn and do well in school is actually controlled by the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex will only, will only grow, okay, will only grow rapidly, or will grow effectively when it is being, there's the release of, these hormones that are healthy for it. Hormones like the love hormone, oxytocin. So if you're not creating these experiences, on the other hand, okay, so you are not creating healthy emotional experiences for your children. So you are the one that the child bites you when the child bites you, okay, when he's sucking, and then you give him a slap. I don't have time for that nonsense. You know how they say slap him so that he will stop doing it. Okay, so you're not creating healthy emotional responses. You're the one that the child is to. They say, oh, he broke your flask, beat him, take him to it, show it to him, and beat him. Okay, so while you are doing all of this, what you're doing, you are inhibiting the release of the love hormone in your child. And so the prefrontal cortex is it's not being fed. Okay, it's not being felt, it is compromised basically. So that is the reason, right? So the prefrontal cortex, all right, is the part of the brain that grows the slowest. Okay, so it will grow till your child is like in their mid 20s, till about 25, 26. That's when it becomes fully matured. But however, at different phases of the child's life, it is growing at a level. And what level the prefrontal cortex grows is dependent on the experiences that you create for your child. So if you're a parent that is creating healthy experiences, okay, you will be causing the release of the love hormone that is the prefrontal cortex. So which means that your child will be developing in that area. So your child becomes that child becomes socially, the child grows effectively in their social skills. They grow effectively in their emotional skills. The child learns to regulate. The child is able to regulate. The child is able to show empathy. The child is, so all of these, because that is the part of the brain that is responsible for all of this planning, social skills, emotional skills, and all of that. Okay, so I think I've dwelt on that too much. So if you don't understand this, then you are not going to allow your child, or you're not going to be able to support your child effectively. You're not going to be able to, okay, so let's look at it. You're not going to, let's say your child is destined to create an invention in the world that will change the face of the world. Okay, so for the child to do this, the child would need to have some level of cognitive ability. Now, simply because when the child was young, okay, did I add that between 0 and 5, 90 to 95% of the brain capacity, that's when it's built between the age of 0 and 5. So all these things I'm talking about is between when your child is 0 and 5 mainly. Do you understand? 0 and 5. Okay, so the child is supposed to be this person that is great and all of this and do this invention and all of that. But hey, you did not allow the prefrontal cortex to grow accordingly. And so you could be the one stifling the child from being able to do well in their learning. Okay, so this affects all of this part. Learning, it's controlled by the prefrontal cortex. So basically, we are going to be stifling, a lot in the lives of our children simply by not understanding what we need to do. Okay, so that's it for knowledge. The next thing that we need to do, or the next thing that we need to understand, is emotional intelligence. So all of this I've talked about is emotional intelligence. You need to go back. As a parent, you cannot support your child effectively if you are not emotionally intelligent. You cannot support, if you are not working actively, or you are not in tune with your emotions. So as a parent, if you want to support your children effectively, you must be able to gain mastery, or work on gaining mastery on your emotional intelligence. So we are all a work in progress, and parenting is not about perfection at all. It's not about perfection, but a singular fact that you're working on it every day, and every day you make a mistake, you are able to say to your children, oh, I'm sorry, I should have done it differently. So what you're doing is you are being vulnerable before your children. So when you're vulnerable before your children, you tell them, you make them understand that you are not infallible as a human being. Okay, that way they know that you are all on a journey together. So you have to be emotional stable for you to be able to have patience with your children, okay, and help them develop all these brain cells that we are talking about. So yes, emotional intelligence is very important. And I said 90 to 95% of the brain develops during the point where your child is between 0 and 5 years old. So it's very important that we know what we're doing with our children at this point. Okay, so a quick one, a way that we can help our children, especially when they are young like this, okay, is to use the ABC strategy. The ABC strategy is antecedents, behavior, and consequences. How do you say the things that you say to make sure that your children, the way we say the things we say to our children, the way we act to our act when we make requests of our children, okay, to an extent would determine how the children will respond to that instruction. So if you're a parent that is always yelling at instructions to your children, you're always angry, you're always angry and all of that, chances are your children will show a lot of negative behavior. So, but if you're a parent who is calm, you are calm with your children, okay, you instruct them in the right way, and then you make sure that your tone and your facial expression is right, chances are you will have your children who will follow your instructions, okay, and they will act more positively than they will act negatively. So you need to pay attention to this ABC approach, okay? I'm giving that to you. Try the ABC approach in your parenting, okay? Antecedents, how you express, okay? How you ask your children, or how you get your children, or how you give your children instruction. The way you go about it is very, very important, okay? And in doing this, you want to look at prompts. You want to use prompts, okay? As an antecedent, you want to use prompts. When you prompt your children, what prompt does, okay, is a direct way to guide your child's behavior. Okay, so prompt is a direct way to guide your child's behavior, okay, when you're giving them instructions. And these prompts can be physical, they can be verbal, and they can be virtual. So let me give you an example, okay? Let me give you an example. So you want your little girl to go and brush her teeth, okay? So you can say to her, hey honey, it's evening, and I think you should go and brush your teeth right now. As opposed to, have you brushed your teeth? Will you get out and go and brush your teeth? So you see. So hi honey, you've just had, you finished and you're about to go to bed. I think you should go and brush your teeth right now. Okay, please, can you go and brush your teeth right now? Okay, see my face and hear my words. The tone is good and all that. And so that is your verbal prompt. Okay, then apart from that, you can say, oh, come, let's go to the bathroom. Okay, come, let's go to the bathroom. That's your physical prompt. So you hold the child, or your hands on the child's back, and then you walk to the bathroom together. Okay, and then you say, grab your toothbrush. Hey, let me show you how, or something like that, or grab your toothbrush. You want to do it like this. Okay, so when we instruct our children this way, chances are we are teaching them, okay, chances are we're teaching them how to behave, okay, and the response or the behavior that we will get from them are likely to be positive, okay, and this applies for children of all age. And then the last one is consequences. What's the consequence of that behavior, okay? What's the consequence of the behavior? You've led the child, like that was a consequence of the behavior. The child would do it, and then you're happy with the child, and then you can say to the child, you can now praise the child. Oh wow, I like that you have to be specific. I like the fact that I told you to do this only one time, and then you went ahead and you went ahead to do it. And I like that you did it all by yourself. Something like that. So when we use this kind of prompt consistently when our children are young, remember we're talking about emotional intelligence. When we use this at the point that they're young, as we continue to do this, after a while we back off and we realize that our children are more likely to pose positive behavior than they will pose negative behavior. The next one, very important, is that you want to identify your children's interests and talents. Okay, you want to identify their I think my time. All right, let me just shoot. Okay, so you want to identify their interests and their talents. Very, very important. Okay, so I'm going to use my children. I'm going to use the kids. Okay, let me just use one of them. Or let me use my niece who came to be with me. So my niece came to be with me when she was about 16 years old. Okay, so when she came in, okay, I was going to use her even for triggers. Your emotional intelligence, you should be able to identify your triggers, okay, and then know the things that trigger you so that you can curb them. So when she came to be with us, she came from a different family setting and all of that, and then she came to us and we have, oh my goodness, sorry about that. Power cuts. Where's my phone? Sorry about that. We just had a power cut. Sorry. 1 second, please. Let me see my phone. All right. So sorry, I'll just continue like this. All right. So when she came, I realized 1 second. When she came, I realized that we had all these boundaries and all the structure in our home and all of that, and it was a bit different for her. Okay, so when she was beginning to get into trouble, I was, so many times she would do things, and then I would get irritated and all of that, and I realized, okay, that I realized that I was beginning to lose it too often with her, and I didn't want that. So what did I do? What I did was, what I started doing, because I knew the things that triggered me. Before I come home, you want to tick me off, let me just come home and the whole house is upside down. No, you will just mess me up that day. All right, so what I started doing is before I get home, I would call her. Hey, how you guys doing? Okay, I'm on my way home. I'm going to be home in like 20 minutes. So that's like a prompt, like, okay, just get the house ready. So with that, I started, by the time, because she knew or she knows that I'm coming, she will go ahead, or they will go ahead, she'll go ahead and instruct the kids, and then they will clear up everywhere. Sorry about that. So they will clear up everywhere, and everywhere is okay and all of that. So identify your triggers. So I was going to talk about their talents. So when she came, I noticed that she sings well. Okay, so she sings well and all of that, and then she liked fashion. So I asked her, she was like, oh, she did a bit of fashion training, when she after school and all of that. So the first thing I did was, okay, I listened to her. I watched her for like a whole month without saying anything or doing anything. I watched her for like a whole month, and then after that month, I enrolled her to a music school for music classes. So I enrolled her for music classes, and then I said to her, would you like to learn to sew like well and all that? She was like, yeah, she would, and all of that. So I went to my tailor, and then I enrolled her there. So tailor gave me the price for it, and I said to her, okay, I'm gonna pay half of it. That's what I said to her. I'm gonna pay half of it for you, and you're gonna pay the rest. This is someone that doesn't work, nothing. I'm like, I don't know, I don't care. So I said to her, I'm going to pay half of it and you're going to pay the rest. So I'm going to pay half and you're going to start. All right. So I went ahead and I paid half the fee, and then she started working. Okay. So we will have our sessions. We'll have our sessions at home where we talk about giving out value. If you want to, if you want money, you need to give out value that people are willing to pay for. Okay. You have to give a value for people that people are willing to pay for. And because my 10-year-old at the time, my son was about 9 at the time she came. So because my son at the time was 9 and he was already running a business, he had a juice company that he was running, okay, and then he had the YouTube channel that he posts YouTube videos, science videos, teaching other people, you know, and all of that. Because he already had that, that was enough motivation for her because the environment was right. And that's another thing. Okay, in helping your child find their purpose, you need to ensure that your environment is such that your children are inspired by the environment around them. I can't touch on everything today, that's it, okay? So your children are inspired by the environment around them. You have books for them to read, okay? You are building or cultivating the culture of reading, okay? What are the kind of paintings you have on your walls? Do they inspire your children? What is the music that they listen to? Do they inspire your children? What do they watch on television? Does it inspire your children? What do your children do when they're not in school? Are they things that can inspire them, or are they things that can direct them towards being productive? So at the time, she could see that my 9-year-old was already being productive. So that was challenging for her. So let me tell you what she did. As soon as she started sewing, okay, I would ask, for those weekly, during our weekly meetings, I would ask, oh, have you come up with any idea? What are your plans and all of that? So what she started doing is she started making dresses for my friends' children. So when the kids come around to play, she would take their measurements. She'll take their measurements, she'll buy fabric from my allowance. So I put her on an allowance just like the children. Okay, so I'll give her a bit of allowance at the end of the month. Okay, and in that allowance, you must save, because we have the saving culture where you save a percentage of whatever money you have. But I just let them do their thing. All right, so she would go and buy fabric. When she buys the fabric, she will come and then she will sew something for the kids without saying anything to their parents. When she's done, okay, but because she was going to give it to people, she had to pay attention to details and she had to do it. So she will take it to her tailoring school. She will ask her boss questions. When she comes home, she's sewing and all of that. At the time she finishes, then she will go to my friend and tell her, oh, I made this for this child. Okay, I made this for this child. Yes, this is in Nigeria. I made it for your child and all that. And then they are always happy. Okay, they're happy. And then I tell her, and then she'll be like, how much should I charge? I said, I don't know. I don't know. So sometimes just leave it for them to decide, or it's up to you, make up your mind. So the first dress she made, they paid her 4,000 naira for it. And so she started making that for different friends, for my friends and all of that. And then all of a sudden, one of my neighbors actually called her and asked her if she could start teaching the children that are 13 and 11, if she could teach them how to sew and all of that. And so that's how she got her first job. Okay, so that's how she got her first job. And then she came and she asked me, how much should I charge? And I'm like, no, go make your decision and come back, let's talk about it. So she came back and then talked about how much she wanted to charge. We played around it, and then, okay, you are not an expert yet, you're growing on this, so you cannot charge the way people who are gurus, people who have it together, you can't charge the same way. So we weighed it and all of that, and then she gave her a bill. So for the last 4 months, she's been earning money teaching the children how to sew. So she alternates. The days that she goes for her training, she doesn't have sewing classes on those days. Okay, so she teaches the children, I think 2 or 3 times in a week. And mind you, this 2-3 times doesn't mean that anything in the house suffers. The day you have to go out, we do, all chores and everything that has to be done is done, because we don't want to give children the impression that because they are pursuing their dreams, okay, it means that any other thing has to suffer. We need to teach them that life is a balance. So you need to learn how to balance everything in your life, okay? So that's it. So she earns money from that. She still sews clothes for my friends, their kids and all of that. And I say to her, oh, put it in your status on Facebook, on WhatsApp, put it there in your status when you make dresses for my daughter. And then she sews for my daughter too, and I have to pay, okay, and all of that. So she gets her 4K here, 3K here, 2K here, and all of that. And with that, she was actually able to pay the balance for her sewing classes. All right, so that's it. So the next thing is you want to introduce your children to mentors. Is my time up?
We are here. We are here.
All right, so let me Okay, so let me round up. Okay, so the last two things is the next one is mentorship. You need to introduce your children to mentors. Okay, and these mentors can be direct mentors, or they can be people who do the same thing or have the same interest as your children, so that they can mentor them or inspire them from afar. So look at what your children are interested in and look for people who are doing well in that area and begin to feed your children with what these people do, basically. And apart from that, you can also, what I do with my son has had mentors in his life since he was 7. His first mentor was when he was 7. And since then, he's gone to have mentors in different areas. He has a financial mentor, he has a spiritual mentor, he has someone that mentored him in IT skills because he's into IT and all of that. He has someone that mentors him in that area. So he's had mentors, and then he has a public speaking mentor and coach. Okay, so he's had all these mentors and all these coaches. Some of them I have to pay, but most of them we have to pay. But basically, I know that we can't do everything. My husband and I cannot do everything. Okay, and I don't want to look at champion. If you're going to be a champion at something, you might as well know how to do it excellently. So we connect you with the experts that can help you, or someone that can inspire you directly. Okay, so when they have all of that, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your children have expression. So what I'm doing with my niece is I'm giving her expression in the things that she is talented in. Okay, so she plays the guitar right now. So she has expression in that area, because it is through practice that you hone that skill. It is through practice that you become an expert in that area. So imagine that they are already practicing from age 10, 11, 12. So imagine how good they will be in these areas when they are 22 and 24. So tell me how this child is going to wake up at 35 and ask themselves, what is my purpose in life? At that point, you would be living your purpose. Is it leadership? In all of these, we're grooming them, okay, leadership skills. We're grooming leadership skills, we're grooming spiritual skills, we're grooming all of these. So in any of this area that God calls you, you can fit in perfectly. But by and large, what is important is that you have all the traits that needs to be in place for you to do or to thrive or to navigate in whatever area you find yourself. And the last one is you have to teach skills and train habits that will last. I don't think I have time to go into that, but basically we all know that skills are very important. Your children will know nothing if you don't teach them these skills. So some of the skills that are important for the first phase of their life, I call it the dependable phase, where your children are dependent on you, the first 18 years of their lives. I'll just read down some skills that are very important. You need to teach your children kingdom life. Okay, you need to help them build that area of their life. Let them connect with God so that they can know what the Creator says about them and what it is, because ultimately our purpose is in God, isn't it? Our purpose is in God. So if you don't have a connection with God, you probably will be lost in that purpose. So very important, by the time your children are 18 and on their way out of your doors, they should have a personal connection with God. Second thing, you want to equip your children and grind values into your children. Your children need to know what they stand for. If they don't stand for something, they will fall for anything. So very important that do you have another session after this?
No.
Okay, so I'll round up in the next 5 minutes, 8 minutes. Okay, all right. So basically, their values. So you need to, as a family, do you have your family values? Because your children will learn to create personal values from the values that you have as a family. So teach them. Just on Sunday, we were reviewing our family values. Even my 6-year-old knows our family values. You meet her on the road and you ask her, what are your family values? She will tell you, at least even if she doesn't tell you everything, she will tell you at least 3 or 4 of them. Okay, so your children need to know the family values that you have, the values that you have as a family, and you need to use it as reference. You need to use it as reference. You need to use it to reinforce every other behavior around them. That's what family values are. So the child does something, and then you're not losing your mind and screaming all over the place. And then you say to the child, who are you? Who are you? And then the child can say to you, I am a child of God. I am this. I'm Kansior. Then I'm like, okay, so that thing, what you have just done, okay, what you have just done, where exactly in who you are does it fit? I mean, what exactly in who you are does it fit? And then he looks at it and is like, nowhere, ma'am. Okay, nowhere. And how did you come? I mean, how did you arrive at that decision? What did you use to arrive at the choice that you made? Because before you make choices, you need to make sure that the choice that you're making aligns with your family values. So whatever choices they are making, their choices need to align with their family values. So if they don't have these family values, it becomes difficult for them to create personal values as they grow older. Very, very key. Okay, you need to create sex awareness in the lives of your children. Okay, I said all of this in my book, Mentor Parents. Okay, you need to create sex awareness because that is one thing that can actually derail children from their purpose. We think it's small, but it's huge. Sex conversation, drug conversation, the use of media, all of these can be roped together. If you don't give your children, if your children don't get knowledge and information in this area, this can actually stifle their purpose, okay? Because these things can be huge distraction, especially in this in the 21st century. Another thing is you want your children to develop lifelong learning skills. So you want them to become lifelong learners. They need to love to learn. Okay, so during this holiday, the kids and I decided that we're going to have excursions every Friday. So every Friday we're going to go to somewhere of great importance in Abuja. Okay, so the first week we went to the wildlife park. Last Friday we went to the cultural center, the Arts and Culture Center. Now we've gone there, we've seen these things, great knowledge, great experience, and remember, we're creating experiences. So great knowledge, great experiences, and all of that. We don't leave it at that. Okay, we come home and then each of them has a topic in relation to that outing that they are going to research and they're going to be delivering next week Saturday. So next week Saturday, I'm going to make shawarma and I'm going to have drinks or whatever, suya, whatever, and then they're going to dress up very nicely. Daddy and I are going to sit down, they will connect the computer to the big screen TV and they're going to give us their presentation. So my 6-year-old is going to be presenting about how communication has evolved in the last 100 years. So she'll probably have cardboard paper or whatever. She's going to say what they use in this, at this point of in the 1900s, what they were using, how they communicated. So she's going to do all of that. So her brother is helping her with that research. What are we doing? We're developing research skills. We're developing presentation skills, public speaking skills. All of these, we're making the children focus. We're teaching the children to enjoy learning. We are expanding their horizon, and we're helping them understand that learning doesn't happen only in the classroom. Okay, so they're going to have that. The older ones are going to have PowerPoint presentations and all of that, and they will do that, and we will give them feedback at the end of the presentation. But hey, they have to prepare and look at the part, and it's a big deal in my home when we have this presentation. So you want to introduce things like this that will help your children love and enjoy learning, so that learning is not just a classroom thing, and when they're not in classroom, boom, is gone. All right, so you do that with books also, books and all of these things, the kind of music they listen to and all of that. Okay, then after that, IT skills. If your child does not have IT skills in the 21st century, you are setting the child up for failure. So please, by all means, introduce the children. That thing they do in ICT in the classroom is not enough. Okay, what they do in the classroom, I did IT and all of that when we were growing up. We did IT in school and all of that, but hey, it did not translate to much. Okay, so you need to, we're not saying they're all going to be IT gurus, they're not going to be Mark Zuckerberg or anything, but basically let them have the requisite knowledge of IT, basically, because hey, their generation is going, their tech, what do you call it? Their technology, they have to be technology savvy. They have to be, they're native. So basically, they need to have that skill. It's not a negotiable. Okay, so that's a skill that you need to sell skills. Please, by all means, let your children know how to convince people to buy from them. Okay? Oh, I'm taking too much time. So when my son started selling juice, right? When my son started making juice, it was a project from school. They just brought power back. Sorry. So when my son started selling juice, it was a project from school that he came home and then he started and decided to continue with it. So at that time, when we go out, people would ask me in church. I remember one of my friends asking me in church, why are you making this boy do this? I'm like, calm down. Did you see me? Did you see me moving with him? Did you see me sending him? Because at the end of the project, he said, Mommy, I want to continue. I'm like, are you sure? Where are you going to sell? He was like, oh, football, church, and then in the neighborhood and all of that. What's my own work now? I'm an enabler, isn't it? I'm an enabler, so I would go to the market and I would bring it. And then when we get home, I used to support him. When my niece came, it became their thing. Right now, I don't even know how that company is running. I just know that on Sunday, they will sit down and they will give me the account, and the account needs to balance. Okay? So it is such that when he goes there, I've never sold a bottle for him. Like, oh, please, can you buy for my son? It is his thing. If he goes and he sells 10 bottles, it's fine. If he sells 2, it's fine. If he sells 30, it's fine. If he sells 50 bottles in a week, it's fine. It's his thing, and it's all. But basically, the idea behind it is children are learning to sell. It is such that even his 6-year-old sister now, while we are out, she would actually move to people and say, oh, my brother sells fresh organic, that's what they say. My brother sells fresh organic juices. Do you want? His 6-year-old sister will make sales for him. So basically, IT skills, our children will have to sell their skills. They will have to sell their skills. They will have to sell their product. They will have to sell whatever it is that they have. And the market is going to be stiff in their generation. So we might as well teach them these skills from today. Okay, public speaking skills. Public speaking is a life skill. Every child must know how to speak in public. You don't necessarily have to be an MC. You don't necessarily have to be whatever. I mean, you're going to, as a marketer, you're going to present your bid for people to key into, isn't it? As the head, the lead of a team, you're going to have to do presentations. So presentation skills is very important. You're going to have to sell yourself, sell your product, or sell whatever it is, your knowledge, and you have to do a presentation for you to be able to sell this to some other person to believe and then to buy from you. Okay, so all of this is important. You're going to have to use your voice for a cause. For instance, you're going to be a preacher and you will need this. So whatever it is that you will do in life, you will still need public speaking skills. Okay, then entrepreneurship skills. Your child doesn't necessarily have to sell anything yet, but there are skills that they need to have, okay, that will help them embody, okay, all that they need, okay, the traits that they need to be great entrepreneurs. So you want to make sure that you're teaching that. Public speaking is part of it. I just said public speaking, the ability to save. You need to teach your children how to save. The pocket money that you give them, let them tell you, let them save some of it, let them tell you how they use it, let them write down how, I mean, they should be able to make budgets, okay, and be able to, you know, save and do all of that, be able to explain their expenses and all of that. These are all skills. Then leadership, very important. Leadership skills, and leadership skills begins right from home. When you teach your children to resolve conflicts, you're building leadership skills. When you teach your children to control their emotions, that's leadership skills. When you teach your children the importance of reading, that's leadership skills you're trying to hone. So very important that you teach these children all the skills and the many more that are out there before they walk out of your door, okay, and you say you're done with parenting, whether they're going to, I mean, before they even walk out your door to go to any higher institution, you should have equipped them with these skills and equipped them with all that we've been talking about this evening. So thank you very much, Vivian. I'm going to stop right here.
Wow.
Thank you very much. I hope you got value in this session.
Wow, Mary Beth. This session is an encyclopedia of its own. Everywhere people are raving you, parents are raving you here in the comment section. People are asking, how can we get this book? A lot of, how can we get this book? Review you with fire emojis. Oh my goodness. This is an encyclopedia session. I am going back to my notes. My notes stopped at some point because it was so voluminous. I couldn't continue writing. I'll go back and listen to you again. Like, oh my God, this is mind-blowing. This is mind-blowing. A lot of things. A lot of things. Thank you very much, Marybeth, for doing this. I am so grateful that we have you this evening. And we've really learned so much, like so much. Everyone, no question here. Everything I'm saying here is, where is the book? How can I get the book?
All right, so I am in Abuja, but we have pickup locations all around the country. So if you want the book, all you need to do is pay for the book, and then we will either ship the book to you, or you have to pick from a pickup location close to you. So we have pickup locations in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, Enugu, Port Harcourt, Lagos. We have pickup wherever you are. We will reach you with your book. Okay, so if you just make payment, then you will get your book between 2 and 5 days. The book should get to you. All right.
Okay. Then you share your details with me later, so I can also share with people in the community, in our WhatsApp group and our Telegram group. And I know a lot of parents who will also catch replay. We are all coming for this book. We are all coming for it. Like, your session is mind-blowing. It's nothing short of amazing. It's nothing short of value packed. When power went off from your end, I also laughed because it went off from this end also.
And
I I also laughed, but I know that a lot of parents who also catch the replay will look out for this book. So you will share the details with me, and then we'll share it in our channels so that we can all get this book. From what we've heard already, we know the book is going to equip us. We are proactive parents who are working ahead, who are intentionally preparing and equipping ourselves for the journey. We know the journey is a tough one, and we need to get knowledge, like you rightly said. Lots of Marybeth, you can't even imagine so much value everywhere. So you will share that with us. You will share it with us so that we can get this book. Share the details, and then we'll share to our parents. We are proactive parents, so we are working ahead. We are getting ourselves equipped for the work ahead, and we're intentionally doing this. So thank you very, very much for doing this. We are coming for you. We are coming for proactive parents wants to
that's
grow
the
more.
book. I didn't even show you. So that's the book.
Oh my goodness.
So that's the book.
Okay.
I actually wrote to my son. My son wrote a version too, the children's version. So that's the baby steps. My 11-year-old wrote this, and then the parents version. Thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Thank
you very much for doing this. Thank you so very much. Proactive parents are coming for this book. We need it. We are proactive. We want to get equipped. Thank you very much for doing this for us. God bless you. We don't take this moment for granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Don't forget to share these details with us. We will get back to you as soon as possible. God bless you, and do have a good night rest.
You too. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Marybeth.